Members Ms. Henny So, Mr. Gerard Giam, Mr. Louis Chua asked about the trends in bullying incidents. In the last 5 years, the average number of bullying incidents has remained steady. For every 1,000 students, there were an average of 2 incidents in primary schools and 6 incidents in secondary schools annually for any form of bullying, both within and outside of school. Of these, incidents involving the use of technology average less than 1 incident per 1,000 secondary school students and even fewer in primary schools each year. Members Mr. Zulkarnain, Dr. Wan Riza asked about how MOE educates our students and equips them to deal with threats of bullying. From young, students learn pro-social behaviors through lessons and role modeling, through the Character and Citizenship Education or CCE curriculum, and a school environment that emphasizes values and respect. Students acquire skills to be kind to their classmates, resolve disagreements respectfully, and stand up against bullying. Students learn what to do when they encounter unsafe situations, stay calm, do not retaliate, but move away and seek help from adults nearby, and alert their teachers and parents. These lessons extend to the cyberspace. Through cyber wellness lessons, students learn to be respectful and responsible users online. Whether online or offline, they should report any incident of bullying to their teachers or school leaders. As students sometimes prefer to turn to their friends for support, schools have established peer support networks and trained students to help and look out for one another and in conflict management. These educative efforts continue in our IHLs, which raise awareness about anti-bullying through modules teaching respect and appropriate behavior, as well as peer support structures. Members Mr. Yip Hon Wing, Ms. Hazel Phua, Mr. Chris D'Souza, and others asked about the intervention and support for bullying victims and perpetrators, and how schools collaborate with families, community partners, and police to address them. Teachers are trained to create a positive classroom culture, recognize distressed students, and proactively address hurtful behaviors and bullying. All pre-service teachers receive this training, and new teachers are supported by experienced staff and school counselors. In-service teachers also receive refresher training as part of their professional development. When any incident of bullying within or outside schools is reported, schools and IHLs conduct thorough investigations before deciding on the appropriate course of action. We adopt a tiered approach based on the severity of incident. In cases arising from careless remarks and misunderstandings, teachers guide students to resolve their differences and reach a common understanding. For cases involving persistent, intentional acts of bullying, serious disciplinary actions are taken in addition to the restorative actions. For cyberbullying incidents, schools guide students to report this to the online service provider. When schools and IHLs come to know of any incident of severe bullying or fights, they work closely with parents and the authorities to ensure students' well-being and safety. They also mete out the necessary disciplinary consequences and guide students to change their thinking and behaviors so that they can learn to be responsible members of the community. Similarly, our schools and IHLs consider the seriousness of the incident and take into consideration the profile and needs of the students involved when taking disciplinary actions. Schools may put perpetrators on detention or even suspend them from attending lessons. Caning is used as a last resort for boys and carried out in an appropriate manner only by authorized adults. For severe bullying or fights, a police report will be made and perpetrators will face legal consequences in accordance to the law. Whenever a student is affected by bullying, whether as a victim or perpetrator, the teachers and school counselors provide emotional support to help the students cope and mend relationships. Students who continue to be distressed will be referred to the community resources such as the Response, Early Intervention and Assessment in Community Mental Health or REACH teams for more specialized support. The objective of these educative and restorative efforts is to help students learn from their mistakes. These efforts are taken to turn the bully around rather than just expelling or suspending them from school. When relationships are affected due to conflicts or misconduct, Schools and institutions take steps to educate, discipline, and restore relationships in the school community, and these efforts require parents' support and partnership. Parental guidance and partnerships are vital in shaping children's character. Parents guide their children by role modeling positive behavior and interaction with others. When a child faces bullying, parents are encouraged to remain calm and provide emotional support, reinforcing pro-social values and coping skills. Similarly, when a child has bullied someone, parents can guide their child to learn from the mistake, apologize sincerely, and make amends. As mending relationships and improving behavior require time and practice, parents are encouraged to collaborate closely with schools to address the situation effectively. When students witness bullying incidents, they are reminded not to record and share the incidents online to avoid further hurting the parties involved. Similarly, when videos become viral, everyone should exercise care in responding to them. Circulating such materials, trying to dox the student perpetrators, or calling for them to be ostracized could isolate them even more, drive them to extremes, and make it harder for them to mend their ways. The bullying perpetrators often also need help to turn over a new leaf. As a society, we must be careful not to normalize such behaviors unintentionally. Let us stand together to discourage copycats and attempts to out-viral the last bullying video. MOE will continue to work with schools to share good practices and review the strategies to manage bullying. We will continue to update these education and intervention measures and partner parents to create caring and safe learning environments for our students. I thank parliamentary members and members of the public for showing their concern about this issue. With your help to monitor community and online spaces to keep our students safe and stop bullying incidents among students when you witness them. We will be that village that raises our children well. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, bullying is a multifaceted issue that defies one-size-fits-all solutions. It requires a nuanced approach that carefully considers the well-being and reform of both victims and perpetrators. We all hold the power and duty to support each other and foster an environment where healing and change are possible. We want to steer clear of actions that might hinder or deny a perpetrator's chance for rehabilitation, such as counterproductive social media behaviors. True justice blends punishment with rehabilitation.
I refer to parts B and C of my original PQ. I don't think I heard the Minister answering them. The first being for a breakdown between the offline and online bullying incidents that are reported to schools, and the part C, which related to whether there are any special guidelines given or approaches taken for cases of bullying involving students with neurodiverse conditions or disabilities, and if there are such guidelines, what are they? And I think it's important, especially for this last point, because I think different or measured strategies need to be behind how these students are handled, because they need to be sensitive and also effective, and not all teachers might feel, or counsellors might feel, that they're able to handle some of the more complex issues. Thank you.
Minister Chan.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the numbers for the offline has been answered in my questions. The number of online generally is the number of reported online is generally much lower than the offline. But as members noted, this could also be because people are less sensitized to what constitutes online bullying. So, for example, if a child feels that he or she has been excluded from a group repeatedly, persistently, does that constitute a form of psychological bullying? Then it has to be taken in context, and then we have to look at the case carefully. So my own belief is that the online numbers will progressively rise because of the circumstances that our children are exposed to, but also because as people become more aware of what is happening, there will be more such reported instances. On the second point about neurodiversity, that's why we handle all cases sensitively. It's not a one-size-fits-all method to handle things. Some children with special needs may have inadvertently or advertently or inadvertently cause harm to others and they may not know. And when we counsel them, we have to handle them with care because of their different needs. On the other hand, when students with special needs are bullied or made to feel uncomfortable, we will also have to make special efforts to counsel the perpetrators. The guidelines as to what constitutes bullying is the same, but the remediation measures will have to be taken in context, taking into account the conditions and circumstances of both the victims and the perpetrators.
The Minister mentioned just now that the trend of bullying in the past 5 years has remained steady. Now, as trends for social behaviours may take some time, this 5 years time frame may not be sufficient. Does the Minister have figures over a longer time frame, like, for example, 20 years? And secondly, have there been studies into why children or young people engage in bullying behaviour with a view to identifying whether there are any ways of preempting such behaviour?
I don't have the last 20 years of data. I have already explained that the last few years the data has been relatively stable. The only thing that we have changed in the classification is that previously we did not account for instances that happen outside school, but more recently we have also put that into our data. That's about the only change that we have done recently. On the second issue that Ms. Hazel Phua says, that's exactly the point, because it's not about focusing on just the bullying, but the potential causes of why people engage in such behavior, whether it's children or adults or teenagers. And there are many reasons for this, and I think the literature has various hypotheses on this. But one of the things that we watch very carefully is, for more recent events, one of the things that we watch closely is the impact of the COVID, safe distancing measures, and the reduction in opportunities for our children to grow up interacting with people as they would have done previously before, and whether this would have an impact on the kind of social or antisocial behaviors that they have. The second thing that we are watching very closely is actually what's happening on the internet. Sometimes, even though the numbers are the same, the virality of some of these instances will then spawn copycats or attempts to out-viral the last known instance. That's why when we respond to such instances, we have to be very careful to not aggravate the situation.
Sir, I wish to follow up on the position of MOE on parental involvement in mitigating bullying. Now, to be clear, I understand that parents cannot be held completely liable for the actions of their children, which is a step that some jurisdictions like France or Germany actually have in place. That said, I'm concerned when there's limited or no parental involvement at all. I have Sengkang parents who have explained that even after they've reached out to the school and to the discipline master, the actions have been somewhat inadequate in their view because of insufficient involvement on the family side of things, of the perpetrator, to be clear. I understand that in the UK, parents may face orders to attend counseling or even face fines. Now, while MOE may not wish to go as far, I wonder if there are merits to having this sort of joint counseling sessions. Keep in mind, as Minister said, that we do want to be very sensitive to adult involvement, but here I feel it's about building a relationship between the parent of the perpetrator and the child.
Minister Chan?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I think member Mr. James Lee might have missed some parts of what I've mentioned. Indeed, we get the parents of the perpetrators involved because we believe that this is part of the rehabilitation process. The rehabilitation process cannot be done independent of the parents because the parents are part of the partnership for us to bring up the children. We have not a position, as you have mentioned, like in some other jurisdictions, whereby we take the parents to task through fines or other punitive measures. But we certainly involve the parents. And if you have cases whereby you think the parents of the perpetrator who would like to get involved more, but it's not adequately provided for, let us know and we'll follow up with this. Most of the time, I think it's the other way around, whereby we would like to engage the perpetrators' parents to get their support and cooperation, but sometimes this may not be forthcoming. On the other hand, you have touched on another point about expectations. Sometimes we have difficult cases whereby parents take things into their own hands, and this is certainly most unhelpful because that will be a negative role modeling of what we want for our children.